Burns. I've been in the technical industry since I was in 5th grade. My mom was a firm believer in child labor as long as you're a kid. So I've been working on IT a long, long time. I've been working for the government before I became a PFE for the past 10 years, and primarily as an Active Directory admin. And I love working on really huge networks and systems along that line. However, there's a lot of things when it comes to Active Directory and some of the absolutely free tools that anyone can use from Microsoft that never get used that are a lot cooler than a lot of people realize. Have any of you heard or used the Policy Analyzer as part of the Security Compliance Toolkit? 2 people. This is a record, I think. So you guys will be kind of familiar with some of this. Now, what exactly is Policy Analyzer? Because that's the question. It is part of the Security Compliance Toolkit, and basically the toolkit is a set of tools that you can get. It's going to have some baselines. You can get some pre-made GPOs just to give you kind of a jumping off point. So you're an IT admin, what are other people doing? And it is updated quarterly online when you go to the download. So that's not a big deal on it at all, to be able to get those updates just to compare it to what you have. Also, LGPO is a part of it, but we're not going to focus on that part of it right now. And it does go through all of the currently operating system baselines, except for 2019. It's not been released yet. Now, the Policy Analyzer itself, which is a very simple zip file, it's like 5 meg, it allows for the analyzation and comparisons of group policy objects. So you can find redundant and inconsistent settings. So if you have a GPO and it's for Windows 10 and it says, I'm going to save the last 14 logins. You've got another GPO that comes in and it says, nope, I'm going to save the last 2. Well, whichever one's applied last is the one that's going to be the setting on the machine. Why do you have it split between 2? But finding these small inconsistencies can be somewhat difficult. And this allows you to view multiple GPOs as a single unit in this situation. It also allows for comparison with routinely released GPO configuration baselines from DISA or Microsoft. Again, if you're wanting to know just kind of a security jumping off point, go to the DISA website. You can download any of their security features and be able to take a look saying, yes.
What's DISA stand for?
Department of Information Security Analysis, I want to say. Honestly, I forgot because I'm kind of nervous. It is a government independent agency, though, that is designed for the secure information transfer in the digital space for the government. They've recently changed their name as well as their website. If you don't have a CAC, it's actually public.cyber.mil now. And it'll allow you to view baselines for pretty much anything. So if you want to know, this is how I should secure Adobe Acrobat or GPO, you can. Or Microsoft Word or Microsoft Office, anything, just to give you an idea or a jumping off point if you're not sure where to start. The other really cool thing is it allows for easy recording, backup, and management of GPOs. Everyone has to write reports, and no one really likes doing it. My general experience, being able to go through and say, hey, here's a full GPO export of my entire domain. Now I'm going to pull it all in, compare it to make sure we've got, do you have a question?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. To export it to an Excel, show all of the comparisons between your different GPO settings and save it. If you did that quarterly, doing a PowerShell script to export everything and then pulling it all in, you have a point of reference that's easy to get to, like Excel, and a backup. So it makes life a lot easier in a lot of ways. So now we're going to go to the demo, because demos are fun. Yes?
How does this play into if I've already got AGPM installed in my environment with 4.0, or 4.3 version?
It does not matter.
So it won't play havoc with my versionings?
No, it will not touch AGPM, it will not do anything, because you're actually removing it. You could do this if you wanted to on an air-gapped laptop, and it will not matter. How it actually works, Policy Analyzer, when you get it, it's a zip file, and these are the files you're going to have within. You double click on Policy Analyzer, it doesn't actually install anything. So if you wanted to have a pure air gap backup system for it to be as secure as humanly possible on it, then you could just export all of your GPOs from your domain. If you say, okay, I want to add some GPOs so that I can compare them. You can then go ahead and say, File, Add Files from GPOs. And then what I did is I actually went and downloaded the Windows 10 version 1607 and Windows Server 2016 Security Baseline from the SCT website, which is part of the package. And then you can just say, select the folder, and this is every single GPO that's within it. Okay? And then say, okay, I want to import it. And then, what do I want to name it? Test. Okay? Now, let's say we take Windows 10, and we're going to put in multiple versions just so we see some conflicts. And that's an idea here we'll use. I11 as well. And then you can just go to View and Compare. It's loading all of your group policy data. If you look, when you audit the policy, this is an account login, policy group, or registry key. This will be blank if you're using GPO to put in registry settings. So when you're looking at an export and you sort it by policy type, there might be a big chunk of blank, and that's just because for some reason in your organization you need to edit a registry key via GPO, which is perfectly feasible and fine to do, but it allows you to go through and compare. Now, the credential value of an account login for success or failure, the settings in the GPO for all of these, which are different Windows 10s obviously, are showing that it's going to be for success and fail on all of them. However, on IE11, they didn't set that as part of the GPO. You don't need to. There's no point in it. But if you look down here, because we're doing a bunch of different versionings, for example, on this GPO release, for the 1803, it'll only record for the success, not for the success and the failure. So it's highlighted in yellow to show you've got a conflict in your GPOs. If you're deploying all of these GPOs to the exact same system, whichever one comes in last is going to get precedent. So you might not get a failure login actually recorded as according to your GPO rules and run into questions of why isn't this happening. Now, this is where we get really cool. We can say export all data to Excel. Now, because reporting is not fun, but we need to do it, when you sit down on a quarterly or semi-annually or annually basis, just within that, and you can say, these are all of my settings, or this is our quarterly security review. We're going to see what we need and what we don't need anymore, so we can make sure we have a nice clean Active Directory. Just making sure you're working with clean GPOs that all have a purpose, because, for example, I went to a client recently. They had GPOs for IE8. They didn't have any machines with IE8, but it was still being pushed to every machine. There's no reason for it. There's no reason to keep it on your network. And by being able to go in, evaluate, and see everything that you have and everything that is available with all conflicts, you can speed up, you can lower the size of your token and speed up displays, and it makes a lot of things a lot easier. So, here's your Excel export. This is a registry key change because it's HKey local machine for the software Microsoft Windows current version policy systems, and it's the local account token filter policy. And then this is what it's set for each of the different settings on each of the different GPOs we're looking at. So going through and comparing, you can compare hundreds. It just takes longer for it to export. Anytime you see a yellow, okay, that means you got a conflict somewhere, because on one side it says one thing for one GPO, on another it doesn't. The other cool thing about this export is if you look over here, it has, like on test GPO that we updated, The GPOs that this setting is included in is SCM, Windows 10, our S1 computer. It's also on the 2016 member server, because I just pulled everything in, and on the basic computer policy. You can see, according to the settings, if they are different, it will have an individual output for each of them, but you know where you have that input and that setting saved at, and what you have it for every single GPO. Also, it's very simple to sit down and just write a PowerShell script. I do have one that will that I could provide to you if you'd like, and it works with almost any domain because you just add a domain qualifier at the end, and it'll export every single GPO you have into a folder. Doing that quarterly to make sure you have an annual backup in case something corrupts or you have to do a rollback is really important. But that's some of the really cool stuff about Policy Analyzer. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question, I think.
Go for it.
I don't know if this is actually a right question, but I'll just try. So let's say you're moving your whole domain, controller, AD, everything to another, you're upgrading a server, the physical hardware.
Mm-hmm.
Would you use this to figure out what GPOs you want to put onto your new hardware stuff, all of that? Like that, what's like the migration process that would involve something like this tool?
This isn't necessarily a migration process related.
No, I know. I don't mean migration. I mean, would you use this tool when you are going to upgrade your hardware, for example, like for your GPOs specifically, or is that like a different?
No, you wouldn't have to do that because when you add a new domain controller, new hardware, you can have the old one running, build up the new one,
okay.
throw the new OS, add it on, and then you can just set whatever you would like. Do you want it to be a read-only domain controller?
Gotcha.
If you want
Oh, yeah.
full DC, everything else, and then you just decommission the other one and delete it out of Active Directory. This has to do with more of the policies, procedures, and permissions
Okay.
from within. Like, can you install Diablo 3 on your work computer?
Yeah, but
You know, no, you can't, because we've got it blocked so that you don't have local admin rights.
Gotcha.
You know, that's not the kind of stuff that's controlled from within a GPO, and you don't want conflicts on like local administrator rights or that sort of thing.
Understood.
Well, so would this be a good tool to use, say, if I'm doing a hybrid cloud scenario with SSD or a cloud attached scenario with SSD and Intune, and I want to check all my GPOs to ensure that when I pull the switch for those settings, I know exactly what I need to put on Intune versus what's in my on-prem environment?
Exactly, because this will tell you every single setting for every single GPO that you have deployed. So you have a backup. If something happens, always have a backup, and have a backup for the backup, and a backup for that backup too, to make sure when something happens, you know, it's a problem. At one of the locations I worked at before I became a PFE, there was a fire drill, and there's this big sign, and it says, push button in case of fire, and below that it says, don't push if just a drill. The person walked over and pushed the button, and it was the main hub of all the entire internal network, 2 internal networks, where that particular customer was taken offline for 24 hours to get everything back up because he just pushed the power kill switch to the entire system. We're talking, yeah. So everything got overloaded. It was pretty bad, and it was all because of a fire drill. So making sure you have backups and you have workarounds and know what you have in place and why you have it there. Because another useful thing, if you don't know why you have a GPO set or what the setting does, look it up. You can actually, there's tons of places online where you can see every single GPO setting and what it exactly does. So if you see, I have a system integrity, success, and fail, well, I don't know exactly what that setting does. You can look at it on the Microsoft site. It tells you exactly what it does and exactly what each of the choices do as well in a much more manageable format, and you're not on a server and you have no chance of breaking anything.
One more question.
Go for it.
Could you run this off of like a jump drive?
Yes.
To keep it airtight, I would store all the files that you just that you imported onto that drive?
Yes. If you look at Policy Analyzer itself, you just say where the policy rule set is and the policy definitions. So when you put it in a new computer, you just go and select on this PC and say where it is, which folder it's in on your actual jump drive when you move it. Because it doesn't actually install anything. It's just an independently run executable.
I'm